All righty. Good morning, Rotaries. We want to start on time to start off the new year in the right way. So even though I don't have a microphone, if you would give our attention, please, we will turn our invocation attention. If you please stand for faith.
Well, you're not standing for me, you're standing for the invocation.
It's all on today.
So bow our heads, please. Dear God, as we begin 2024, we're thankful for the blessings, opportunities, and the challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us, always asking for your strength and guidance in our lives and in reaching our Rotary goals. And may we be challenged to give our best always. Amen.
Amen. And Steve Schmidt?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
But thank you all so much for your patience. For the next couple weeks and maybe for the next couple of months, we're going to be at this location here in the country club, and I'll try and see if we can get something else hooked up so our sound system will help us, so we get some other kind of amplification. But for today, we'll ask for your patience and very acute listening. As we begin our first meeting of the first few, we have to start with the most important priority first, and that's our new member induction. So if Kent, Kurt, and Dr. Tarson McGloshen could please come up and stand with me for a minute, please. Appreciate that. Dr. Gard. Thank you. Please come join me in front here. I'd like to share with you that you've been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Dublin AM. You have manifested qualities of heart and of head. And you have shared with us, and those who come in contact, everything that you know to be an ambassador for Rotary. We appreciate your vocation as a physician and your healing, and also your family, here to join us today. By the way, I'll make sure we introduce your brother-in-law.
Thank you.
Please know that as part of the induction into Rotary, we'd like to talk about areas to encourage and foster. We're looking for you to do the development of acquaintanceship for the opportunity of service. We're looking for high ethical standards in business and professionalism. We're looking for the application of ideals of service to every Rotarian for their personal and their business life, and you can expect that from the rest of us. And lastly, the advancements for international understanding, goodwill, and peace through world fellowship for business and professional people in the ideal of service. We expect much from you, and we hope you're here to help and inspire us, but also understand that we will be here to enable you to be a better Rotarian as well. It is with this hope and with a hearty thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Consider yourself inducted
Thank you.
into Dublin AM Rotary. Kent, would you please present him with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Garg, thank you very much for your interest in joining. We're very excited to have you. But we also have the honor of Dr. Garg's brother-in-law, Ramesh, who's joining us today. Ramesh is a member of a Rotary in Atlanta, and he was actually the inspiration for Dr. Garg to get to Dublin AM Rotary. So thank you very much for that. And Dr. Garg, welcome to the group.
Thank
We're
you.
very excited. We'd like you to just say a few words about yourself and then explain why you're excited to join Rotary for everyone else.
I'll try to be brief. My name is the same God. You can pronounce it any way you want to. I like my first name, but in India, my patients never knew my last name, but here I had to use it. And I born in a small town in India, educated in India, and went to medical college in a princely town of Patiala. And then I migrated to England for a year. My wife, though of Indian origin, she was in England for the last 12 years or so. And then from there, I came to United States just for 6 months to see how this country is. I did not know much about it. and I liked it, what I saw. So here I am after, I don't know, I came December 69. And,
It's a good 6 months.
and I've almost worked in every specialty for several stints in the medical profession. And finally, I settled into orthopedics. I trained in New York City in Montefiore Hospital, Einstein College. I had a teaching career for 1 year. Then I moved to Troy, Ohio, where I started my solo practice. Then I moved to Springfield in '89, and I retired 4 or 5 years ago. And I did spend about 10 years part-time addiction medicine. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer, or I can go on as long as you want me to.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I'd recommend you wear the pin every Friday. Otherwise Dave Williamson will be after you. That's great. Well, let's go on with just a couple more announcements. A big one I want to make sure and share, and I want to ask if Wolf and Susan are going to have any comments on this. But something that we did this last board meeting I thought was very significant. I just wanted to share with the entire group. We have voted to extend not only a club grant of $2,500 to the Let Me Run program for the Dublin schools, but also the foundation is going to match that with another $2,500 grant for these kids to the Let Me Run program. The program, as you might remember, was started when David Bentz came to us from this Dublin City Schools perspective for Eli, it wasn't Eli. Daniel Wright, yeah. And said that these kids really needed the support. It's specifically a program that helps boys have the funding and training and coaching to start running. And like I said, it's a very recent announcement, but Susan for the foundation, Wolf, because you helped with the grant request. Any other words you want to say about this? Because I think it's a tremendous thing that we've seen this person speaking. She's been here at the club 2 years ago. And now we're going to get a chance to not only do what David Benz was able to do 2 years ago, but do another program for 2 separate teams. Any other comments?
Yeah, the target audience for this is at-risk boys, so they try and catch them early and give them something positive to work toward and achieve, and they build them up emotionally too during the process. So it seems to be a really good program.
Great, well, thank you to the foundation and to the club. And please know that when you're raising the money, when we're doing Polar Bear, when we're asking for sponsorships, these are the things we're able to do for our community because of you. And you, the members that are bringing all that money in. And speaking of money, I see Pete Cushing ready to take a few minutes for an idea. Polar Bear.
Thank you, Ingrid. You took a lot of my energy away from folks. The Polar Bear Open, this is the reason why we're able to kind of do amazing things in the community. And February 24th, so you're going to see a lot more of me in the coming 6-7 weeks. The committee has been working hard in the back scenes to make sure we have a terrific event. We've been working since October. We took a 3-week break, but we need the club to help in 2 different ways moving forward. One is the day of the event. We need volunteers. So I'm going to pass this clipboard around. I already have 2 amazing folks volunteered. Pete and Wendy Cushing are already on the list. So join the 2 of us for the day of that event. And then starting next week again, we have 8 people signed up specifically for the event. Okay, which is no reason to be nervous. We still got 7 weeks. It's not uncommon here to where we start really loading up with once we get within a month of the event. But what we need club members to do is watch your email. This coming week, we'll be starting to send out additional emails to folks that have attended the events in the past, and then you guys will get emails sent out. 1, we'd love for you to sign up, but 2, we would also encourage you to send it out to folks that maybe have joined us in the past or maybe of interest in volunteering, obviously, in the community. So I'm going to start this sign up sheet going around today. Paige, date February 24th. Paige, go blue, by the way, too, as well. So sorry about that. All right, so.
Be sorry.
Hey,
When you speak up.
yes, yes,
I'm trying to read, I didn't hear what you said.
So, thank you, everybody. Any questions? Any other questions? We get moving? Thank you, everybody.
Oh, great, Pete. Thank you. We'll be seeing more of you, I expect, the next coming week. Very good. Just a quick announcement from Kurt. Kurt and Claudia had talked about making one of our members an honorary member. So at the last board meeting, we were also able to do that. Margie Ambrose is one of our founding members, and so we have voted to make her an honorary member, but I'm not sure if she knows yet. And I don't see anybody actually from the chamber. We do have Amy now. We might want to talk to her first and let her know, but it's late breaking news. I thought you guys would want to know. We mean it with the greatest respect, and I think it's a great thing. Kurt, any other comment on? Okay, good enough. And Kent, if you'll bring us announcements home?
Yep.
With social.
You betcha. Two things on social committee, mark your calendar for January 18th, Thursday, a couple weeks out. We're gonna have a happy hour event at Briggs Park. So we reserved a table in front of, I say, Dos Hermanos, if you know where that is. Right in the middle of the North Market and Briggs Park, so easy to find. 4:30 till whenever, we're gonna have a table reserved. We can browse around, get our food and drinks and enjoy some good fellowship. So I'm gonna be sending an invite out this weekend, so look for that. Another thing, on your tables, you'll see that the social committee has put together a survey. We've got some events that can be kind of to be determined based upon your input. So please fill these out and leave these on your table. Again, we've got lots of great things in the cooker with social. So any questions, let us know. Social committee is kind of back here at this table. So any questions, let us know.
Do you want to fill out right now?
It'll take 15 seconds, so at their leisure.
Yeah, and again, leave them right at your table.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Wonderful. And my family, I'm sorry, Dave Evans. I say, I'm sorry that you missed all the nice things we said about you with let me run, but you gonna have to go back and watch it. No, it's seriously.
Early morning thing, I've got to get back.
Thank you again for your inspiration and support in getting us together. Wolf, you have an announcement, and then David.
Yes. Next week, our meeting is going to be about human trafficking and actually preventing human trafficking. So in that vein, in lieu of our monthly toiletry collection, we're going to do that next Friday. Toiletry items, writing tablets, pens, pencils, sensory items. I don't know what that means, but they're trying to collect all those things that they're going to give to their victims of human trafficking, which they house in-house, and we'll hear all about that next week. So next Friday, bring toiletries, we'll collect them and then distribute.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on. Dave?
Good morning, Rotary. I'll let everybody know one of the major goals we have this year is recruitment. Looking to make sure that we get outreach to all our community, find folks that are interested in doing community service and have them come and join this club. One of the major tools we have to do that is part of Rotary protocol, these little business cards. I want to encourage you to not only take one, take 3 or 4, and don't hesitate on passing them out. They work. They work very well. People are just waiting to be asked to join things like this, and get involved, and we have a history of a lot of activity that our club gets done in the community and everything. So please feel free. We've got lots of these, and we can always get more. So I'm going to be putting a lot on the tables and passing around. So feel free to take them, and if you need one, come see me.
Okay, make sure you give Dr. Gard a few things too. Now he's got his pin in his name badge. Well, great. Peter, if you could take us home with the welcome our Sergeant at Arms.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Let's see here. There's nowhere for me to go. So I'll just sit here next to, stand here next to the podium. So today is Friday, January 5th, 2024. It is the 5th day of the year, and there are 361 days left in the year, leap year. On this date in history, well, first actually, we have two guests. Ed, everybody welcome Ed. And he's a guest of Kurt Brown, and then Ramesh Gupta. Ramesh, welcome. All right. So on this date in history, in 1757, Louis XV of France was almost assassinated by Robert Francois Damien. Mr. Damien then became the last person to be executed in France by drawing and quartering. They moved on to the guillotine. So in 1914, the Ford Motor Company adopted an 8-hour workday and a minimum pay of $5 a day plus bonuses. In 1925, Nellie Taylor Ross of Wyoming was the first woman elected governor in U.S. history. She later went on to serve as the director of the U.S. Mint for 20 years and lived to the ripe old age of 101. In 1933, the construction began on the Golden Gate Bridge. And finally, in 2005, the dwarf planet Eris was discovered. And because it's more massive than Pluto, it led to Pluto being demoted from a planet to a dwarf planet. And it takes Eris only 559.7 years to go around the sun. So that leads to my trivia question today. What is the closest dwarf planet to Earth? Does anybody know that? Oh, crickets. It's in the asteroid belt, and it's called Ceres. So Ceres is the name of this dwarf planet. So it's the closest one. Nobody knew that, and that was intentional because you're all fined $1. So there you go. All right. Well, great. The small pot today is $20. The large pot is $416. And right, you got it? Did I drop? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Ticket malfeasance going on here. If you could draw a ticket for me. All right. 154507. 154507. 4507. All right, congratulations. Would you like small pot or try for the large pot?
Large pot.
Okay, great. I'll get you right afterwards. And then let's pick for the small pot. Thank you. 154476. 154476.
That would be me.
All right, congratulations. You get the small pot. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Peter. All right. All righty. Well, without further ado, let me talk a little bit about our speaker today. As you all saw from Aaron's email, Dr. Tom McGloshen has a nice, very, very robust academic accomplishments list. There's a great deal of detail about Tom's education and the work there. But one thing I want to mention is a little bit different than that, as I'm introducing him today. What I'd like to share with you is all the things he's become, or he did as a founding member of significant community investments here in Dublin. For example, Tom was a member of the board of directors for the very first one of the Dublin AM when he joined in 1992. He chaired the Vocation Services Committee. He chaired our four-way test committee. He chaired the Family of Rotary Committee, and he chaired our programs committee. He also was part of not only our Rotary Club, but 2 other Rotary clubs as he was coming up in his career. But I'd also like to share with you that he was part of, he was actually a founding member for what's now Centero. And you think about Centero, I always, think about our club support for that. And part of how that all came to be was because Tom was a founding member of Centero. Also, he's a founding member of the Dublin Abbey Plays. So I don't know if you've all been to the Dublin Abbey Theater, but Tom was a founding member of that arts piece. Tom was also a founding member of Leadership Dublin. We've talked a lot about Leadership Dublin and how important it's been over time in our relationship with the City of Dublin. And so Tom was one of our founding members for Leadership Dublin. Tom was also a member on Dublin Arts Council. So you can see how Tom's been involved in all of these different, very significant portions of our community. He also has been very involved with Dublin Community Church and a founding member of the Community Church's pastoral counseling services. So he just happened to mention that he was involved with triathlons in 2002, 2003, and 2004. So I just had to make sure to mention it as well. So with that, and without further ado, I've asked for over a year now to have Tom prepare this transitioning of life's managing transitions discussion. And so, Tom, I think we are ready for your talk. Please come join us and welcome Tom.
Smoky and the Bandit, but we have a long way to go and a short time to get there. I remember taking some Coors beer across country. Well, I have a 30-minute presentation and 20 some odd minutes to do it. So here we go. We need some help. It's not changing here.
One second. Yes. These things put in the PowerPoint. Yeah. So I can't. There you go.
There we go.
And put it this much. Now to, you should just be able to do this right here. Okay. Let's make sure. Yep. There you go.
All right. 30-minute presentation in 21 minutes. My wife and daughter both say, now you talk slowly, you gotta speed it up. So here we go. We're gonna do all creatures great and small, starting with caterpillars and elephants. You might have heard about the caterpillars creeping across a milkweed leaf, and as they were going side by side across the leaf, one of them punched the other one and said, because they saw a couple butterflies going over, one of them punched the other and said, Bob, yes, Jimmy, Bob, you'll never get me up in one of those things. And that's the way it went. Sometimes change comes upon us unexpectedly and certainly not in a direction we had planned. My daughter was standing in the family room and I was in the kitchen and she said, Dad, now I'll stop right there. We're talking about change. When we lived in Kentucky, before we moved far north up here to cross the Ohio River to Dublin, Ohio, I was daddy. In the South, everybody is daddy until they move across the river, and now I was dad. But we were able to keep our family tight, and that's the way we went. Well, she finished her sentence by saying, Dad, you're crooked. Well, she knew I was crooked. crooked like this. And she knew it, but she hadn't learned it until she was able to say it herself. So what I'm wanting to do is to give you the invitation to learn I'm crooked. And it is a product of degenerative disc disease. In other words, my spine is collapsing over to this side, over to the right. I've had some friends and even some family members that have been trying to move me to the right, and that's a lost cause, I have to tell them. So that's the degenerative disc disease, but there's also torticollis, which my head is about to fall off over here. So if you see me collapse like an envelope, you just put a stamp on my head and mail me home. So what I want you to do, so you can learn what you know, is I want to hear you say with robust energy, Tom, you're crooked. Tom, you're crooked. What's more? Tom, you're crooked. Oh, maybe the elephants have left the room. So that's what we're after. Well, and I get asked, Ingrid said, almost a year ago, will you do a program on change? I said, sure. This is about the 6th time I've spoken to this club. And I said, sure. So I went back to her sometime after that. I said, okay, Ingrid, what are we talking about? What do you mean by change? And she said, it's change. I thought, why didn't I think of that? And then I talked to Gene. I said, he came and said, how can I help you with this? I said, well, tell me what we can do with this big topic. He said, well, and he gave me a half a dozen things about transitions in life. And I thought, both these people really have been helpful to me, and I honor them, and I want to incorporate what they say, what Ingrid said, what Gene said, and I'd already done about half the work on this presentation. So I want to incorporate all of this into what I do today. Don't worry, we're going to break for lunch, and I'll have you out of here by 5. Managing life transitions. I am pretty compulsive. In terms of obsessive compulsive, I don't obsess, but I do compulse. And I like things in order. So we're going to look at change we see, change we experience, and change we generate. The Rotary vision statement. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Go ahead, water. So, thank you. So in terms of change that we see, this is how we spill water on ourselves. Bruce Jenner, I watched that whole Olympics. He won the decathlon championship, set world records. And I followed all 10 steps of that decathlon experience. That was a few years ago. More recently, call me Caitlin, he says. That's a change that we did not see coming. I understand he was a cross-dresser using some of his wife's underwear to make himself happy. And but this is a big issue, a legitimate issue that needs to be managed tenderly. Some people come along and say, I'm gonna do something with this. This is not a pregnant male. This is this Logan Brown is obviously a pregnant woman who is transgendering into male. That confuses the whole issue, but I just thought I'd throw that out there so you can get rid of that out of your brains. Okay, we can see the side effects, the effects of change, although we might not have seen the change happen. We saw it with Mahatma Gandhi, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. Lasting change across the world by these people. Change we experience, number two, how we experience change externally and internally. I mean, how many of you have ever changed a flat tire in your car? How many have you done it in the last 5 years? Times are changing. I don't even have a spare tire in my car. I have this little box that's supposed to blow up, refill my, and I don't know how to use it, so I'm real lost. How many of you had cell phones when you were in high school? How many of your kids have cell phones in high school? Okay. All right. Climate change, we hear it all the time. We see rivers overflowing. We see fires. We were in Lahaina, Maui twice. It was beautiful. It was the setting for South Pacific. And that was a devastating. I mean, that's not the only one across the climate. The climate has changed. Here's a commentary. A peek into the future. You might not be able to read this. After all those years of worry, this guy's on a float in the pool and kids in the water, and his wife is wrapping up after sunning herself. After all those years of worry, climate change has turned out to be not so bad. His wife says, but now everybody and their brother wants to move here to Fairbanks. The times they are a-changing, said Bob Dylan in the 60s. And the question for you is, and where are we Rotarians in all of that? We'll come back to that. Where are we Rotarians in all of the changes? The second thing is in terms of change we experience in terms internally. How do we deal with change internally? I was leaving my office. My office is in the quarry building, which is directly across Riverside Drive from Friendship Village. You've passed them both, I'm sure, many times. 5 o'clock is not a good time to be leaving my parking lot. And especially if I'm going out and turning left. So I've got 2 lanes of traffic to negotiate. Leaving there at 5 o'clock, it's packed. As far as you can see, going back. Cute little sports car down the way, coming toward where I was, had his highlights on. 5 o'clock, just a month or so ago, was dark enough to have headlights on at 5 o'clock. Not your highlights, not the bright lights. That makes me nuts. You don't want your shrink going nuts on you, but I go nuts. And I think, aren't these people, don't they know better? Don't they know that these lights behind me or through my rear view mirror, are they coming toward me? This is dangerous driving. The closer it got, the angrier I got. It's just another one on the list of people I've gotten angry with driving their highlights on. And I thought, if he stops right in front of this exit, I have to restrain myself and not just to push him right through the side door of Friendship Village. But he didn't stop there. He stopped to the left of the exit. And these cars had stopped at a traffic light, and he allowed me to get out and turn left and go home. What a swell guy this is. I got a safe exit to go home. All the way home, I thought, how nice that was. What a you know, I bet he didn't even know his highlights were, because he was certainly not a guy like this. He would have been embarrassed to learn. He had those highlights. He's just not that kind of a guy. This is what we do inside our head. It's not about the sports car. It's not about the sports car. In the 1st century AD, the 1st century, philosopher named Epictetus said, it's not facts and events that upset us. It's not facts and events that upset man, but the view he takes of them. This is cognitive behavioral therapy in a nutshell. Now, when I first saw CBT, it bothered me because I had not seen those letters before. When I was leaving one place I worked where that was not what we were doing. We were doing career development at that point. I thought, here's something else I've got to learn. CBT. When I looked at it more closely and realized cognitive behavioral therapy was a new name, new clothing to put on what I learned in the 70s as rational emotive therapy. Same thing, by and large, in a new dress. But it is effective therapy, and it's because I tend to be more a cognitive person than emotive person. I love it. So how do we deal with what's going on in our head? How do we deal with what's going on in our head? This is a mission, this is my philosophy, how I work with people, how I deal with people. And I'm not asking you to read this. I'm going to say, as I see it, my task is to help folks sort things out, make issues clear, so they can make decisions they can live with. Help folks sort things out, make issues clear, so they can make decisions they can live with. I don't give advice, and this is not an advertisement for my practice, because in November I decided I'm not taking any new clients. I'm not doing no new patients and no new clients for supervision. I've done this for 6 decades. That's a long time. And I've decided I've got other things to do. I hope to do some reading and writing, and which is more that's what I've been doing. So there we go. And I'm leaving on the table about a half dozen copies of several things I'm mentioning. That's one of them. If you're interested in therapy or you want to know about it, that's how I do it. And I think any competent psychotherapist is going to have something like this, so you know what you're getting into and that it's not scary. So it helps us find ourselves. Here's a couple of examples. One is, in terms of things we experience, is sweet and bittersweet 16. 16 is a monumental milestone for folks. It's not being 18, it's not being 21. I think for kids, it's might be more important than either one of those. Those have significant things to them, but in terms of a child growing up, reaching 16, they have figuratively and literally moved into the driver's seat. And that's a plus and a minus too. So they can go pick up their 10-year-old sibling and take them to music lessons. And mom or whoever is home, dad is home, and they don't have to go do it. Their 16-year-old kid can do it. And the parent can stay home and worry that the kid is not gonna be running into a telephone pole, that being only 6 months of driving, so. But that's the way it is, and they're also sophomores in high school. Sophomores is a big year, beginning to look at career direction. They're gonna be giving vocational tests, and they're gonna be doing some career planning, some educational planning. Am I going to college? Am I going to go to right into work? Am I going to work on the farm? Am I going to a trade school? What's going to happen here? Well, but this is also a time for us as parents. We have a 16-year-old. If we had that child when we were 18, we are now 34 years old. If we had our first child after we got out of college, hello, we're now 38. If we have our first child after 3 years of graduate school, we're 41. I was 43. Well, we're going older. Midlife has typically been 35 to 55. 55 to 65 is sort of with better health, we're moving into an extension of midlife. We're not getting into the older years, but we're getting older. And at midlife, we begin to think about where we've been with our lives. In my job, am I happy with where I am in my work? This is a big question that comes up when we are 40 years old. Am I happy with my career? Not only the job, but the field that I'm in. Am I happy in my marriage? Am I happy with my parenting? Am I happy with what I've done? Big time of midlife is we change from thinking about time spent, how old am I, to change to time left. How much longer will I live? How much longer will I speak? The Rotary Vision Statement, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Oops. Finally, I want to go back a couple. We met, what I wanted to get to was what happens not only at 16, but what happens when our children get married. And we again are reflecting on who have we been. And then most importantly, with these action steps, as Rotarians, we generate change somehow. I've got a piece on wanting and willing, and we may want things to be different. The question is not, are we willing to make these changes? The question from a philosophical sense is, are we going to will ourselves to do it? Are we going to will ourselves to eat differently? Are we going to will ourselves to exercise differently? Are we going to will ourselves to make that phone call to apologize to a friend for words we should never have spoken? Are we going to will it to happen? Remember the little engine that could? You know how he got to the top of the hill? It's not because he said, I think I can, I think I can. He got to the top of the hill because he turned his wheels. He willed it to happen. Rotarians are geared for change. This is a gear. The center has a little notch in it. This is a driving gear impelled by the driving shaft that turns that gear and other gears around it. So we're turning the gears that Julie Rinaldi works in with Sincero, our Dinky with the food pantry, our Lou Shirobi with the earning money for the club, and every one of you has done something. You have a place among these gears. So again, the vision statement, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe and in our communities and in ourselves. And remember my question, the times they are changing, where are we Rotarians in the midst of that change? I think our president has answered that question for us. We are people of action, spreading hope. We are Dublin AM Road. Thank you.
Tom, thank you so much. I know you've done so much careful preparation for this. I'm not sure if everybody quite got the thing that Tom mentioned. What Tom has brought for us are a number of articles. Articles about wanting and willing, marriage and family. Tom's has got some biographical background for us, and he's got a paper on wedding grief. So interesting. I know a number of us have changes coming in our families. It was part of what prompted me to ask for Tom's help in preparing the talk today. I would encourage you, because Tom has many copies of these resources that he's brought for us.
Actually, not many copies. I thought some people would be interested in some of this. If I have about a half a dozen of each thing, if you're interested, take it. If you're interested and there's no more left, let's make a place where you can write a note what you would like, and I'll email it to you.
Yeah, so Tom's preparation has been very thorough to make sure that he's got these resources for us. Please come up and check out these papers afterwards. Tom, thank you again for speaking today. I really appreciate the effort that you put in and the preparation and the time. I will mention that we have a meeting back here next Friday, same place. And we have a closing quote. He who has health has hope. He who has hope has everything. With that, have a great week. Go have a lot of hope. Bye, Amber.
Bye, have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Amy.